Hey guys, welcome back. So in this video I plan to get first ride on the z50JS Monkey. It's actually been really close for a while now. I've just been missing the brakes as the main reason why I can't actually ride it around. But while I'm waiting for that package, I thought I would install the new forks that I had talked about in a previous video. So this is painted the RP150C color. Ordered this from a company in Japan, and seriously, it's probably one of the few left in brand new condition. But this is the same color as the original tank, and I also have the original side cover coming from CMS Netherlands to bring that original color back. So I had originally powder coated it in a misty purple color that's very close. I'm not sure how well the camera's picking that up with the natural light, but you can see that there is a noticeable difference between the two colors. Again, in a lot of light it's very similar or almost identical, but in other lights it becomes more apparent. So decided to go ahead and source the original ones because I was able to find them. So I'm going to swap these out. I also have a polished handlebar mount that I'm going to replace at the same time. Then as soon as I get that package, I'll get the brakes on. I also have the foot pegs, which makes riding quite a bit easier, and I'll get that first ride. These fork legs are aftermarket, and for the most part look really good. The chrome looks good, the springs look good, and they seem to work right. One thing I did notice though about these was that the fork legs themselves inside the housing kind of rattled around. And it's because this plastic piece here is a solid piece that's slipped on, or it's solid in that it's not like the original one that has this cutout here that can collapse. So it always stays kind of flexible, and it doesn't really hold the fork leg under any good tension. The OEM ones here, and actually this is the, see here that there's a date on it. It says 1999 6.11, so I'm wondering if that means June 11th 1999. Anyway, that's what has led me to believe that this bike is probably a 2000 model, since this was in the original bike. Anyway, so I'm going to pull off these cheaper ones that aren't tight and replace it with the OEM ones since they're in fine shape. The original fork legs were bent, and there's a lot of corrosion on the springs, so I'm going to keep the rest of the shock, but by putting these on I think it'll help tighten up the full assembly. So I've got the new front fork here, I've got the legs here that again I'm going to swap out with this plastic piece and get it onto the rest of the bike. Alright, so I've got the bike mostly back together. It's actually pretty late now. Trying to do projects on Friday night never work out the way that I'd like it to. While I could spend the whole evening in the garage, the family usually wants to go out, and I did get my package from CMS Netherlands, so I thought I'd do a quick unboxing of what I've got. Most of the things are just bolt-ons, so they're not going to be interesting installs, but did want to show everything that I've got in this package real quick. A couple of these items were backwards, so it took a while for them to get in stock, but once they were, the shipping was incredibly fast. I think it actually left Amsterdam on Tuesday, and today is Friday, so really happy with how quickly this got here. Some really fancy packing material. Looks like these may be posters. I believe this is the engine cover that I was missing that didn't come with the bike. So actually this is the engine cover. This is the piece that I'm hoping is actually RP150C battery cover. And yes, it is the RP150C color, so that's going to tie all of that together really nicely. I have the stock foot peg bracket. This was actually a pretty big order. This is the front brake cable. This is the rear brake linkage. The original foot brake. a ton of little parts and pieces, the foot pegs, the rubbers for them, and a whole bunch of other little screws and other miscellaneous things that I needed for this build. And I'm assuming that's it. The rest of this just looks like good packing material. Oh, this is the chain guard. And I'll go through the rest of this carefully to make sure that I'm not accidentally throwing anything out. Okay, I've got the rear brake linkage on. You can see I've got the foot pegs, the brake pedal, and that whole mechanism works well. I've got the front brake assembly on, which is this brake cable here that hooks up here and actuates this mechanism. All pretty straightforward, all very similar to the way that it is on the CT70. But everything there seems to be working well. And I also have new brake shoes in the front and rear that I put in when I assembled the hubs. Then let's spin around to the other side of the bike. I didn't get the chain guard on yet, but I do have the battery cover, again, in that RP150C color. So now the cover, the tank, and the front forks are all the original color. Down here I have the kickstand, which is the OEM one, again with the left foot peg. I'm going to replace this lever here. It's in pretty rough shape, but for the first test ride it'll be just fine. The engine cover looks fantastic. It's that same polished color that I have polished on the other side of the bike. I really can't believe how far this bike has come though. If you look back at the original video when I'm pulling the frame out of the 4Runner and the poor shape that it was in to now we have pretty close reproduction with only a few modifications. Really excited about this bike. So anyway, let me get it off the lift. I'll put a helmet on and we'll go for a ride. I'm not sure if it's in the frame, but it's crazy how cramped this bike is. My legs are right here almost next to the handlebars, and I'm a pretty short guy, so I'm looking forward to looking at the video of me going back and forth, because I'm guessing I look pretty goofy. Anyway, even though this is first ride, this bike feels pretty complete. The brakes all feel pretty good. The engine seems to run pretty well. Let's see what kind of top speed I'm getting here. Running out of space, but looks like I was getting close to 60 kilometers per hour. I'm not exactly sure what that conversion is, but I'll do the math below. The carb needs a little bit of tuning. I think I need to move the needle up maybe just 1 or 2 clicks, but otherwise this feels pretty good. And for a bike that has such small displacement and I imagine only a couple of horsepower, it actually feels pretty good. I assume because it's so small and light. When I put this thing on the lift, half the time I just lift it onto the lift instead of bothering to get the ramp set up. But yeah, this is good goofy fun. And not too much left to do on the bike. Like I mentioned, I need to get all the electrics figured out. I've got all that hanging out of the front of the headlight bucket. I need to get the fenders on. The front tire seems to be a little wobbly. In looking at the rim, I think the rim is straight. I think it's just maybe the tire has some mounting issue. It doesn't seem to be too bad, but that's something that I'll look into. But I'm pretty happy with where everything's at. I'd like to thank Barton911 again for the tank, T-Bolt USA, and Josh from J Vintage for all the support. So thank you everybody for watching. Stay tuned for more videos and keep on building.